Earlier today I spoke on the condolence motion concerning the passing of former government leader in the Senate, Sir John Carrick. In that contribution I outlined my respect for Sir John, a man who I came to know through his friendship with my mentor and father figure, Tom Uren. One of the great privileges of my life is in 1987 travelling with Tom and meeting John Carrick and other former Japanese prisoners of war at the opening of Hellfire Pass on the River Kwai in Thailand. Both Sir John Carrick and Tom Uren were captured in Timor. They both went to Changi Prison and they both served on the railway. And both of them can be characterised as coming back to Australia with different political paths, one Labor, one Liberal, but determined to serve just one interest, the national interest. Those of us here in 2018 who stand on the shoulders of these giants of the past, who have it a lot easier than the former prisoners of war, must, I believe, recommit ourselves to always serve the national interest, reflecting on their capacity to rise above the hardships that they endured, reminds us of our responsibility to use our time here to make a real difference to real people. I've always believed that our task here is to deal with the necessities of the immediate, whilst also not just anticipating a better future, but taking steps to create that better future. That requires long-term thinking, and often it requires bipartisanship for issues that go beyond a political term or even a period of one-sided politics in government. We should be proud that we do that quite often. We do it in areas of national security. We do it in areas of public safety. We understand that in these areas, serving the public interest is our only objective. But there are so many areas where we can do much better. Take climate change. Prior to 2007, both sides of politics went to that election committed to a market-based mechanism to put a price on carbon. The Howard government had come to that reluctantly, but responded to the Shergold report by accepting the need to do something to drive down emissions through the economy. After the change of government, the consensus held, with the coalition backing action under Brendan Nelson and Malcolm Turnbull, a consensus that was ripped up at the end of 2009 by both the Greens political party opportunism, but also the rise of Tony Abbott and the climate change sceptics in the coalition. The fact is, if we're going to address climate change, we need to address it as a parliament. The same goes for closing the gap on Indigenous advantage and recognising the first Australians in our Constitution. That is only going to be possible if there's bipartisan support across this chamber. The same goes for dealing with challenges of intergenerational inequality. Every economist in the country knows that the taxation arrangements around housing that exist at the moment for investors are one of the issues that are causing housing affordability to just be out of reach of younger generations. We should be doing something about it. The same with the workforce of the future. We know that new technology is having an impact on what the jobs will be in the future. We need to accept the fact that automation is here and change occurs. But how do we shape it in the interests of younger generations to make sure that we don't exclude a whole bunch of people from their working lives? We often can get it right. We've got it right in areas like the creation of Infrastructure Australia, partisan at the beginning but now supported across the parliament. We got it right in Badgerys Creek Airport, supporting a second airport for Sydney, which took a government decision, but a government decision with opposition support for it to actually happen. I think when we look at the great responsibilities that we have and the great privilege to serve in this place, we should commit ourselves to make a difference, not just for ourselves and our political parties in a partisan way, but in the national interest, And I think quite often this parliament doesn't do that enough.
Yeah.